Hey everyone, it's Michael, GoosebumpsFan. Happy Valentine's Day. I kind of said yesterday I wasn't going to do any recording today. As you can tell, I'm in front of the shelves. My sweet wife is upstairs asleep. And yesterday I got the final book that I needed because of the original cover, which was Attack of the Graveyard Ghouls. The same seller who sent it this time was going to send me the previous week that exact book, and accidentally sent me Be Afraid, Be Very Afraid. But they were super nice. They refunded me. Really great seller. Recommend buying from them. Again, but they sent me the right book this time, and I finally have it. It came yesterday. It said it wasn't coming until like Thursday or Friday, so I wasn't planning on making this video until post-Valentine's Day. That didn't happen. But anyway, here I am. I have all 25 original covers. There are no Brandon Dorman reissue covers in this list, just so you know, because there were 3 issues: The Haunted Car, Bride of the Living Dummy, and Attack of the Graveyard Ghouls, with new covers from Brandon Dorman. I didn't want to do that. Every single one of these covers are from Tim Jacobus himself back when Series 2000 came out, and I ranked the covers as the title shows here. It makes me sad with how much enjoyment I got out of Series 2000, how many just stories in this series I really love, and the covers themselves rival the original OG 62 Classic series and how great the covers look. So I had a lot, with so many great different covers to look at. Out of 25 books, I had so much to decide on. I had so many things I had to look at and really think about what I liked more, what I liked less, and frankly, even compared to the OG 62 series, the original Goosebumps series, there are probably maybe 3 in this entire series that I'm not, like, in love with, that I don't like, but they have moments to them and parts of them that I like. Also, just so you know, for my hardship, last night I tried to record this in the dark, you know, and I have the lights on in here too in this kind of bigger room, and I even tried to have this lamp on behind the camera, and between the buzzing noise in the background, between all the glares all over these covers, dude, I could not get them to not be glaring. After 45 minutes of recording, I finally said, you know, the video sucks. Let me just get rid of this. It's not going to be fun to watch. Decided to film during the daytime, and since my wife's still not up, I figured it'd be today that I'd go ahead and film. I'm gonna let her sleep in for a little bit. But anyway, here we are with my list. Number 25, ranked in this series, again from worst to best. For me, the worst cover of the entire Series 2000 series is very weak, for a weak book too. This one really doesn't have much going for it. It is, number 24 is kind of in a set with it, but number 25 is Invasion of the Body Squeezers Part 1. As you can tell, it's just kind of a beautiful looking sky. I love the color scheme of a lot of Series 2000 books. I think they have some of the best, most detailed covers in all of Goosebumps. But he's really just an alien with suckers for fingers that's holding a kid's leg over here. And that's it. That's the cover. The grass looks good, the sky looks good, the alien looks good. There's really not much to say about it. As I said, number 24 is kind of a dual set with number 25. This one had a little bit more going for it, though. A lot of different things happening. It's kind of more insane on the cover than the actual book itself, which tries to escalate, you know, a lot of the things happening in it. Anyway, number 24 is Invasion of the Body Squeezers Part 2. As you can tell, a more crazy cover. The same blue sky and all of that, but then we have like the alien coming out of the ground. He's grabbing these 2 kids, and this one is cross-eyed for some reason. Okay? And we have like these meteors coming out of the sky, of course, from the story. The aliens are on those, apparently, or they are the aliens. We don't know. Then there's this big rock mountain thing. I don't really know what's up with that, but it's in the middle of a suburb. And that's pretty cool. And the reason I say they're in a set, you can basically line them up, and he's the one holding that kid's leg over on Part 2's cover. But that's really cool. I like the idea of having this be a duology. Of course, there is a 3rd book in the Give Yourself Goosebumps series, a special edition book. That's probably the best of all of them. But these 2 books here, kind of weak books in general, but Part 1, I think, has the worst cover of Series 2000. Part 2 ain't much better. Now, my number 23 pick here is for a book. I was not excited to read this book at all. Many of you know that. And about a week or 2 ago, when I actually read it, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this. It was very different from what I thought it would be. It's not really advertised like you think it would be nowadays in 2023. It's a very Hollywood-focused book. It's a very big horror movie-focused book, which I love movies. So this one was very much up my alley. My number 23 pick, with the weakest cover, is Scream School. every time I've ever looked at this book since I started collecting about 5 years ago, and 4 years ago I started the channel, every time I would look at this cover of this book, I just couldn't bring myself to read it. It just didn't impress me with this wax-faced looking dude melting, all the boils all down his skin and stuff. He just looks weird. Apparently that's a character in the book called Johnny Scream, but it doesn't look entirely the way Johnny Scream is described. The background is like a classroom and stuff, but not a great cover. Not super thrilled with that one. My number 22 pick is a book that's really solid read. The cover's very detailed, very cool, I guess you could say. I don't really know, it depends on what you like. My wife likes it a lot because she is a very science class kid. You know, I was more of the English class kid, even though I hated my teachers typically in any grade ever. But, you know, my wife was a big science nerd. I love that about her. She's still like that. She has this obsession with the periodic table. What is up with that? Why? She has an actual cup that has the periodic table printed on the side of it. I'm married to a nerd, but I love her deeply. I mean, I am the man standing in front of a Goosebumps bookshelf, if you will, so I don't really have room to talk. Beggars can't be choosers. I'm pathetic. She's not, though. Anyway, she's not even in the room. I'm not even gesturing to anybody. I literally just pointed to the wall. Anyway, so my number, 22 pick after that small rant. This one is a really good read, I think, for the most part. Above average, I would say, to an extent, from what I remember of it. And that book is Jekyll and Heidi. As you can see, you have kind of a reference to Jekyll and Hyde. This fellow right here, the uncle, is changing. I like the detailing with the hair on the arms. Very much looks like mine. Then he has like the missing tooth and the green eye. Very nice. Why is this eye so swollen? Did he get hit? But the girl over here is cowering. You have some broken glass and some monster blood, I guess, down here. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. Please listen, it's a joke. It wasn't monster blood. Back here you have beakers and stuff. Very science cool stuff if you're into that. Not my favorite cover, as you can tell. It's pretty low on the list. Bottom 5. This one right here is... Why did my phone lock up? Okay. The battery's not even like in the negatives, the low battery setting. Anyway, my number 21 pick, I'm just going to put my phone over here. It keeps sliding off my lap. When I tried to record last night, I couldn't keep it in my lap, but I'm going to try. My number 21 pick is probably the worst Series 2000 book ever, but I don't think the cover is the worst Series 2000 book cover ever. And that one is Be Afraid, Be Very Afraid. This one has a dragon on it, and that plays very much a part in later on in the story, which is pretty cool. I like the detailings of it. I think the scales and stuff look really good. The eyes, the mouth with the fire getting ready to shoot out at you. The house in the background looks cool. The picket fence that he's destroyed basically is pretty nice. I like it. It's pretty cool. I like the wings on it too. There's really not much to say about this one. It's where they start to get better. It's not a great cover by any means. As you can tell, my enthusiasm is not like skyrocketing or anything, but it's pretty cool. It's fine for what it is. Number 20 on my list. This one I thought I would put a little bit higher, but I ended up not. When I compared it to everything else that I saw in other books that aesthetically or nostalgic, looking at some of these covers, organizing them last night, I think this particular one, for me, ranks as low as it does. Not because of the content of the book, but because the cover, when I first saw this cover all those years ago, when I first collected a lot of Goosebumps books about 5 years ago, this one never impressed me. And it kept making, it kind of like Scream School, it kept making me put the book off further and further, which is a shame. But then now that I've read the book, I noticed a lot of details about the cover. I'm like that with books. It's like I connect with them sometimes. When I really love a book, the covers and stuff really speak to me for whatever reason. I just become obsessed with that. I look at the different covers online and that kind of thing, maybe buy them sometimes. And this particular book, the cover just gets better and better to me. Ever since I read it, I just really liked it. It was one of the last books I read. I think my last 4 or 5. Anyway, my number 20 pick is Earth Geeks Must Go. Look at the red color on this. That is an amazing pick. It's an amazing pick for the coloring. The little spaceship here is nice. The reflection of the Earth is in here. And then you have red and yellow-eyed Anakin Skywalker inside of there. Very detailed. I love that. All the the flares and stuff, or the glares, whatever you call it, reflecting off of his helmet and everything. This is a beautiful looking cover. Really love it. I love that color red. My mom likes that color red a lot too. Kind of a scarlet color. Beautiful looking book, man. This, for me, is when I think the covers get really good. And from this point out, I think the covers are pretty much always good. I think, again, the majority of Series 2000, out of 25 books, 20 of them, in my opinion, or thereabout, have phenomenal covers. Really good covers that I really like a lot. And it may surprise you that one's as low as it is. I'm sorry. It's just kind of where I landed. And again, back in the day before I read the book, before like a few weeks ago, I kept putting that book off because the cover just did not amaze me. I just wasn't in love with it. But now after reading it, I think it's great. I really think that book should have a reissue. It's kind of a shame that it doesn't. Number 19 on my list. This one is a book that I like. There's two of them. It's kind of a series, but the other one's in Most Wanted, and that is Creature Teacher. This might seem like heresy, to have this cover the way it looks above Earth Geeks Must Go, but I actually really like this. This, to me, looks like traditional Tim Jacobus, not Jim Jacobus. This looks like traditional Tim Jacobus for me. It looks like original OG 62 classic series Goosebumps, and I love that about it. It looks very nice. I like the perspective. I like the details on Mrs. Marg. She kind of looks like the version of Mr. Mortman from the actual Goosebumps TV show. The girl who cried monster, you know, with the eyes and all that. She looks a lot like him. I kind of wonder if that's an inspiration that Tim Jacobus threw in here. Maybe this is Mr. Mortman's girlfriend. I don't know. But pretty cool looking cover. I like it a lot. There's a lot of other covers like this next one. I think a lot of you guys are going to be mad that it's as high as it is compared to things like Earth Geeks Must Go. I'm sorry. It's personal taste. Please don't get mad. You guys are pretty good about that. The Goosebumps community doesn't get, like, triggered and upset like Twitter does about everything. You know what I mean? Like, that's a good thing. I've always loved that about this community in general. I've always loved talking to you guys because of that. Anyway, number 18 on my list is a book that's, it's a little rough. It's not a great read by any means, but it's a book that I really like the cover for because of the detailing. More than anything, more than the subject we're seeing, but the detailing of it is very detailed in a Tim Jacobus way, and I'll show that to you. This book is Full Moon Fever. Again, not a great read, but look at the gigantic moon back here. Look at the detailing on all the grass and stuff. Look at this beast and all the hair. Again, it looks like my arm. Look at that. That is so cool. I love that. It's not a great read. The trees back here look very Bob Ross-like. I love it, dude. Very cool. Very cool looking cover. The one above that one is a little silly. But I do think, again, the detailing, kind of the goriness to it, if you call it gore, maybe it's just an infection, I don't know. I really like this cover too. Number 17 is the werewolf in the living room. You know, the previous one was not a werewolf story. It's kind of misadvertised as that with the title Full Moon Fever, but it's really just a monster story. This is a straight-out werewolf book that does not have this scene in the book. Basically, the supposed werewolf is a guy being held captive in a cage in a living room. But the details here, like the forehead of this werewolf being so gross. I don't know if he's mid-transformation, with the ripped clothes and stuff being a hint of that, or if he's just like, you know, got rabies or something. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with him, but he's holding a remote. So all I can assume is he's transforming while he's watching TV. It's probably late-night TV, too, so I'd get angry, too, and transform if I were him, because it's kind of dead now. Comedy's kind of dead in general, but oh well. But the cover itself has not really much of a background. It's kind of just, you know, a living room wall. But I like the design. I like the look and the detailing of this werewolf. Very cool. Really dig that a lot. All right, number 16 on my list. This one, again, is kind of high compared to what I think a lot of people would have thought. I have personally always really liked this cover since I read this book years ago. It was like 3 years ago when I read this, like in the first year of me reviewing books for the channel. This was during my camp review-a-thon, and I've always liked this cover. The book itself is good, I think, personally, for my taste, but the cover's really where it shines, I think. My number 16 pick is Fright Camp. Look at this cover for a minute. Look at the colors, look at the glow of the green. I guess that's supposed to be either stink or supernatural, something like that. Maybe it's a supernatural stink. That raccoon is very manic. Very manic. Maybe rabies, I don't know. There's a bunch of, like, the bones and stuff in this trash can. There's a lot of detailing on trees and all that. A lot of grass and plants around here. That says Fright Camp on the trash can. Very cool, very detailed. Again, very much like a classic OG cover. I really like that too about it. Very nice, very well done. Really, really like that one. Alright, number 15 on my list. This one is This one's probably kind of controversial. It's a very beloved book and a very beloved cover. You used to see this all the time on merchandise and stuff, and when you look on eBay and stuff, you see it on a lot of merchandise still. This is, for my number 15 pick, I feel like I'm going to get slaughtered for this. It's the first ever Series 2000 book, Cry of the Cat. This is a very beautiful cover. I love the lights of blue, and I love the lights of red. Very Nicholas Winding Refn. And then you close in, you see all the details like the drool and how angry this cat is. He's about to tear something alive. I love the fur detailing. Look at the fur, dude. It's beautiful. You can almost see the fleas. I love it. Absolutely beautiful cover. Really love this, the lighting and everything. Tim Jacobus' eye for detail, for lighting, for everything he does on every Goosebumps cover he's ever worked on. It typically always has something to appreciate. This is no exception to that. I gotta take a taste of drink. Very good. Alright. Number 14 on my list. Not the greatest book ever. Kind of a creepy book, but not like in a spooky way. It's more of a pervert way. That book is Revenge Are Us. This is a very controversial book. A lot of my friends on YouTube, a lot of my commenters that I talk to, that you guys see me talk to on a regular basis, a lot of guys that are in the Discord, the same guys, hate this book so much. It's very low on their ranking, and it is on mine too. When I ranked the actual books themselves, this one was pretty low. But I love the cover. I love the red sky and stuff. It's a very big theme in Series 2000, but I love this crow here who takes a part in the story. Again, very detailed, very caw-caw, if you will. And then he's holding a newspaper. Why? Why are you holding a newspaper? Let's read what it says. It just says Revenge Are Us. I guess it's the advertisement from the actual book. But I love the detailing on it. I love all the lines for the bird. Look at that. Look at the head. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing artwork. Really, really underrated in my opinion. Alright, that's one stack down. I'm going to take the new stack over here very carefully to make sure it doesn't get into frame and spoil the video, because that would be a shame for you to be spoiled in my rambly video. I'm going to move the old one over and put this one back up here. Okay, we're out of frame. Alright, we're good. Alright, my number 13 pick is one that is a scene from the book that I'm about to show you, and it's horrific. The detailing gives me chills. It's always creeped me out. Every time I've ever picked up this book, or looked at it, or glanced at it in my old room before I got married, at my grandfather's house where I used to live back in the day a couple of years ago, and this book cover with the embossing on it, you know, where like the paper is kind of like printed in for the cover, or it's pushed out or whatever. It feels so weird where that happens, the embossing on the actual cover. I'll get to that in a moment, but it creeps me out. The scene from the book creeps me out a lot, probably my favorite scene from the entire book, as a matter of fact. Anyway, my number 13 pick is Are You Terrified Yet? Man, oh man. You can probably tell where I'm going with a lot of this stuff I'm about to say. The coloring, very red, very purple at the top, beautiful, love that. The design of the jar, the perspective of this, the giant tarantulas in this thing, oh my god. Look at the green slime from Nickelodeon coming out of this guy's mouth. But look at the hair. Look at all the design of the hair on the actual cover of the legs of this freaking tarantula, dude. Look at how angry his eyes are. He looks very, very Karen-like. Anyway, then you have the other ones down in here. But all of the embossing are like down the legs of this thing, man. I'm afraid of bugs. I don't like bugs, I don't like fish, I don't like frogs, I don't like anything like that. They're all gross. But when I picked up this cover for the first time when it came in the mail, I had forgotten momentarily that all of the Goosebumps books I had basically owned, aside from Indian copies that are bootlegs, they all pretty much always have embossed covers, except for the newer ones, like Most Wanted, stuff like that, they don't really have it. But a lot of the old ones do, like Classic OG, Series 2000, I think Give Yourself Goosebumps does a lot of the time. When I opened this book up back in the day, and I accidentally rubbed my finger past the leg on the cover, I got a chill. I remember distinctly having that. That's a weird moment when you remember having a chill years ago over a book cover. Pretty spooky. It's a very rambly video, as you can tell. Number 12 on my list. I actually really like this one a lot. I think it's underrated. I think it reminds me, again, of a lot of an OG kind of Tim Jacobus look. The color scheme's a little bit different, though, which I really like that. I think it really matches what this cover looks like as a painting. That number 12 pick for me is I Am Your Evil Twin. Look at the green on that, man. Beautiful. This cover here, with the broken shard glasses and stuff over here. Really like that too for the kind of themes of the story. The detailing is like this other you having either a red eye or a pink eye. I can't really tell. If it's pink eye, you need to get that checked out. But anyway, I really like it. I like the extended mouth that goes further down than the jaw. Very cool to really explain what happens in the story a little bit. Not as a moment, but like just the characteristics of the other you in the story. I'm Your Evil Twin. Solid read. Really like that cover a lot. Alright, this is one... This one you guys probably wouldn't expect. I've been dunking on my boy Slappy a lot lately. My number 11 pick could not make it into my top 10. And I hate that for it because I really, really love this cover. From this point on, it's basically me loving the covers. And I thought about this one last night, and I just could not put it in my top 10. I just didn't think it belonged there because of the detailing and everything else of the other books. There's a few things off about this that kind of put it lower at number 11. But let me tell you, my personal number 11 pick is Bride of the Living Dummy. The camera should be taken out a little bit. I think Brandon Dorman did that a little bit better on his reissue. Not completely. I love the design of Slappy and the girl doll thing. I cannot remember to save my life. Is that Tina? I don't know. But I love this picture here. I really love it. When I was a kid, I watched the Hollywood Video VHS that I rented over and over again from Hollywood Video constantly of this episode. Didn't know it was a book. When I was a kid, I thought it was just the OG 62 books. Didn't know that Series 2000 existed, didn't know that GYG existed, didn't know that Tales existed. I didn't know anything, basically. But this cover here, dude, when I found out this was a real thing, I fell in love with it. I love the orange in the sky. I love the Bride of Frankenstein throwback that this doll has that's supposed to be marrying Slappy. I love that he looks like Abraham Lincoln. How cool is that? This is like the number 2 book in the series, and I love the redesign for Slappy's mouth. They also showed this in the Slappy's Nightmare cover, which I also like. But even details down to the cake here. The cake has skulls on it. How sick is that? I love it. It's such a great cover, dude, with the color scheme and everything. And they're also fighting over a knife. Which, what are you going to do with that? You guys are dolls and dummies. You both have stuffing in you. What are you going to do to each other? You can't just shank each other. You'd never die in prison, so why would you even fight over that? Anyway, Bride of the Living Dummy, really cool cover. I can't believe right now that I could not put that in my top 10. And I thought about it a lot, about jipping something else and inserting that right into there. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Not in a good mind. I couldn't do it. I didn't think it deserved it. It's a great cover. I love it deeply, like I said, but it does not deserve top 10 for me. Alright. Top 10. What do you guys think? What do you think is going to be in my top 10? I'd be very curious to look in the comment section and see what you guys think. I always like to do that. I don't really get a lot of predictions, but hopefully in the future people will watch these ranking videos and decide to do that. Anyway, my number 10 pick is very detailed for a book that I recently read, one of the last 5 or 6 that I read from Series 2000, and I loved it. I thought it was a great read, really, really enjoyable, really fun, kind of a haunted object idea. But the detailing on the cover, even for this Indian bootleg copy that I have, is magnificent. Now, it might not look as good on camera because of the Indian bootleg cover, but the original cover I'm sure looks way better with the kind of darker visuals to it, the darker detailings and stencil and all that. My number 10 pick is Horrors of the Black Ring. Oh man, I love this. Yeah, it doesn't look great on camera from what I can tell with the sunlight and everything hitting on it from the window right here. But inside, of course, we have the black ring itself with the monster inside of it, the demon or ghost or whatever that might be. But around it, you have things like pearls and you have some rings and stuff like that all around here, wrapped up around it. Kind of like a pawn shop's collection, if you will. Probably of stolen jewelry. But anyway, I love the book a lot. The cover is great. I love it so much, dude. I loved this cover since I got it in the mail, and I've always wanted to read the book, and here I am like 4 or 5 years down the road actually reading it. Which is incredible. And I love this book. I recommend it so highly, man. Number 9 on my list. Number 9 is a book that it's good. It's fine for what it is. It's not amazing by any means, but the cover is. The cover's great. I love this cover. My number 9 pick is Brain Juice. I love the purely black background. And then you look closer and you have all this purple shiny whatever this is, juice, grape juice, I don't know, poured over this very detailed brain that has all of these lines and trinkets and thoughts and all that if you look close enough. Then you have all the tendons and whatever this other crap is that's connected to your cortex, cerebral cortex, I don't know what you call it. I'm not a scientist like my wife. But the grape juice pouring onto the brain and how it goes into the creases and stuff. Dude, it looks so great with it dripping off to the side. It looks so good. I love that cover. I've always loved that cover. Even though the book ain't great, the cover is. I really believe that. Alright, number 8 on my list. Many of you might be surprised that this one is as high as it is. I'm a big fan of this particular subject, or subgenre of Goosebumps, or of horror, for that matter. It's not really a book focused on this subgenre. I reviewed it in a big old marathon back in the day, as many of these books I did. And that number 8 pick for me, number 8, is The Mummy Walks. This particular mummy picture, the background ain't great, but I love the design of this mummy. You used to see him on a lot of, old merchandise all the time, but his feet are freaking massive. Look at this guy. It's like Bigfoot in bandages. But I love it. I love the ripped up nature of some of the parts of the bandages, like on his finger here. I love his face. Look at the face. It's pretty rad. It's a little off-center, off-kilter. The background is basically a cave, as you guys can see a little detailing of, especially around his hand. I love it. It's a beautiful looking cover in my opinion, one of my favorites. I'm a big fan of mummy stories, especially from the original Universal Monsters line, where there's 7 or 8 movies, including an Abbott and Costello movie. I love mummy stories, and I told you guys that in my review-a-thon many years ago, 4 years ago. But I love it. I really think, even though the book is kind of an adventure story that's not really focused on the mummy storyline, which is kind of a shame, the cover itself is very much mummy-focused. False advertisement or not, it's a great cover. I love it. Alright. Number 7, for me, is another book that I thought I would put in my top 5. I love so much about it, but it just doesn't get in my top 5. It can't, because of the detailings, because of so many things I love. It just doesn't get there for me. My number 7 pick is Slappy's Nightmare. For a long time, when Series 2000 ended, this was the last Slappy book until 2008. Now this cover here is an Indian bootleg copy. Both copies I own are Indian bootlegs, which is sad, but I got it for cheap, so who cares. Slappy has gloves on for the first time ever, which is so weird to me. But look at the detailing of the face. Remember we talked about on the Bride of the Living Dummy cover, how they had redesigned Slappy's face. They did a little bit of a redesign with this weird wrinkle thing around his mouth. But the actual mouth that opens and closes the way it does, I love the mechanism of that. I love the design for that. I love the bed that he's in with the purple sheets. That's pretty cool. And I love how, around his head, even though it's supposed to be just plain old lighting, it's kind of fuzzy. Kind of like the idea of this being a nightmare that he's visualizing as he wakes up or screams when he's waking up in the middle of the night. Very strange analogy or scene to discuss about Slappy, but pretty cool. I also love that he has bloodshot eyes, by the way. Very nice. A lot of bloodshot eyes on a lot of these covers, like Anakin Skywalker and Earth Geeks Must Go. The Haunted Car has that. A lot of bloodshot eyes. Yep, that's my pick for that. Number 6 on my list. This one, I love the cover of. I think the book has some cool moments in it, too. And I wish the cover was actually a little bit different, but that's another complaint altogether. But the cover I see here, I really love quite a bit. My number 6 pick, before my number 5's, is Return to Horrorland. Now, I love the red background. I love how in the background, on this side I'll point, you have the roller coaster and stuff. You have a tent that says Horrorland. You have the horror here, the demon-looking fella that's purple, that's holding a green ice cream cone, sitting on top of an ice cream cart, like an ice cream man would have. Look at all the slime pouring out. I assume it's supposed to be ice cream that's put on this cone. He has a very long thumbnail, some detailed knuckles and all that. I love the detailings on this cover, man. Very great cover. Very great cover. Arguably, possibly, debatably, better than the original Horrorland cover. But I think I like that one more, but I could see people saying they like this more. You know what I wish was different about this cover? I think it was in this book. I vaguely remember mentioning this in my review. It might have been in Horrorland, the original book. It might have been in this one. I don't know. It might have been in both. But I remember one Horrorland, or in the series of Horrorland books, somewhere along the line with Horrorland mentions, I remember somebody bringing up that there were candy apple type things, or some kind of candy out in the park, that were like shrunken human heads that looked like they were screaming. That would be such a great cover idea. A little decapitated child head screaming. And a horror has it near their mouth like they're about to eat it or something. They're just grinning at it. Let's not even go too gruesome. Just have them grinning at it, right? That would be a sick cover. That should have been the cover of this book, and I think it was in this book that I read it. But still, really great cover. Love it a lot. Love the color scheme, too. All right, top 5. Top 5, my friends. What do you think my top 5 are going to be? I want you to guess while I take a second to take some drink in. I'm super thirsty today. I got up, I went to Kroger, a grocery store, in case you guys don't have that. I got my wife some flowers. Just as a secret. I didn't want her to know about it, but we exchanged things last night when I got home from work, because technically it was Valentine's Day already. I gave her stuff, she gave me some stuff. But I snuck out today and got her some flowers. So I thought that would be kind of cool. Anyway, we'll see what happens. We'll see if she likes this surprise when she comes down. She loves roses, man. Anyway, number 5 on my list is the final book I ever reviewed from Series 2000, which probably gave it away to a lot of you guys. Very cool cover. Very creepy, ominous cover. Number 5 is Ghost in the Mirror. Now, every time I've ever looked at this book since I bought it, it just had this feeling of haunting me, if you will. Like, just something that was off-putting, in a good way. Like, think of, like, the Poltergeist cover, the original Poltergeist movie. I don't even like that film, at all. Like, literally at all. I think it's one of the worst of that series, aside from Poltergeist 2, in the remake. But, like, the cover of the old Poltergeist film looks great, and it creeps me out when I look at it. This is kind of that same situation. This book is not scary from beginning to end, but the eerie atmosphere in it is really captured on this cover here. Now, of course, it's about a haunted mirror, and entities trying to come out, and I love how the detailing of this, dude. The arm coming out of here has a puddle here, where it's exiting from that reality to ours, but it's also invisible at the wrist area, as you can tell, and then materializes more as the hands come out. Of course, 4 fingers, all that. And then you have the dresser and stuff, very detailed. But that cover itself just gives me this vibe of something is wrong. Something horrible is going to happen. When you read the book, a lot of it's like that. Some parts of it fall flat, but the actual cover itself does not. So effective, dude. Number 4 on my list. I think I can put my phone to the side now. Number 4 on the list. This one might surprise you to be as high as it is. I'm being honest with you, I'm surprised too. I deeply despise this book. It is not the worst Series 2000 book. I think that goes to Be Afraid, Be Very Afraid. But this one I don't even think was outside of my top 5 worst of Series 2000. When I did the big ranking video last week, I believe? Yeah, like Friday, Thursday, something like that. This one is a terrible book. It's a sequel to an original OG 62 book called Ghost Camp. And this new book is horrible. This sequel is awful, and I hate it deeply. My number 4 pick is a beautiful cover, though. One of my favorites from Series 2000. Return to Ghost Camp. Look at this mystic-looking thing. This is like a creepy, or what is that movie? The Frighteners, with Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future. That cover looks so much like that, and it's basically a demon monster thing made out of smoke from the campfire down here where you have the camp. And of course you have the woods on the side and everything. I love all the detailing of that, but just basically the fire and stuff is what's really spooky. But that monster ghost thing, oh my god, so spooky. It has nothing to do with the book at all, from what I remember. But the cover is incredible. Probably one of the best Tim Jacobus covers of all time. Probably in his, like, top 20, I would say. Top 25, possibly. I love that cover, man. Absolutely creepy and just eerie. And the fact that the book sucks so bad does that cover so much injustice, dude. It's like the reverse this time. Usually I complain about the covers not doing justice for the stories or not advertising it correctly or doing a false advertisement to try to sell kids and sell adults on buying the books. But this is the reverse situation. The book sucks so bad from Stein himself that the cover is getting unjustly done. Alright, top 3. Here we go. Number 3 on my list is one that I think I piss a lot of people off when I say this. I'm a big fan of the thing it rips off, which is Christine. I hate the Stephen King book Christine. Can't stand it. I think it's awful. I love the movie, though, from John Carpenter, the adaptation from the 80s. Absolutely frightening, fun, engaging. And then Stein decided to take that idea in the 90s or 2000s or whenever this book came out. I think it was late 90s. And he made The Haunted Car. Look at this cover, dude. Look at this. Again, carrying on the themes of the Series 2000 covers with the red top and the sky and all that. All these details of bushes and trees behind the car. But the car itself, dude. You cannot tell me you wouldn't drive this thing. If it was a real car, you tell me you wouldn't hunt this car down to drive. Now, first and foremost, I noticed something last night. This car has bloodshot eyes. But is it an eye? Or is it a headlight? Or is it a high beam or an eye beam? What is that? And why does the car have nostrils and teeth? Very frightening stuff. Very stylistic. Super spooky. Looks like a car out of like GTA Vice City Stories, you know? Love this car. Love the cover for it, too. I'm not even really a car guy. I have my interests like the 94, 95 Camaro that my grandfather had when I was a kid. I love that car. It's my personal favorite car of all time. But cars like this, dude, they grab my attention. But the detailing on it, all of that, the bloodshot high beams, eye beams, whatever they are, they look great. I love it so much. That's my number 3 pick. All right, here we are, number 1 and number 2. Let me give you a little heads up. Alright, one of these books is one that I recently read that a lot of people love, and I was not a fan of at all. The other one is a book that I love deeply, that I think is an amazing read. I think it's a super engaging, Halloween-focused read. And I'm going to be honest with you, the top 1 and 2 spot are kind of interchangeable depending on what day we're talking about, but I really think I finally came to where I land on this, and where I think which one of these is better than the other, for my personal taste. And kind of objectively, too. I try to be kind of objective, but also mix in some bias here when I do these ranking videos, just kind of what I prefer when it comes to the cover rankings. My number 2 spot was very hard to come up with, because I love this book a lot. I'm sorry, but I had to make number 2, Headless Halloween. I can't believe it. You guys are probably in shock too, if you care about my rankings and stuff for the covers, but I'm going to be honest with you. I can't believe that this is the case, but I had to put it in number 2. I do not think it's as good as my number 1 pick. But it's an amazing cover. It's so spooky with the giant jack-o'-lantern thing here. Of course, the hand touching it going all the way up to this headless body. It's holding this thing that might be a mask, it might be a ghoul's face, it might be this person's actual head. But it kind of looks like to me like the actual story where the character tries to scare other people by tucking his head into his shirt. That's what that kind of looks like to me, but it could also, with that shoulder being so high, it could be really, you know, his head right there that's rotted and decrepit. But then you look in the background and you see the detailing on these vines and crops and pumpkins and the tree and the moon. Oh, it's so good. I love that cover so much. And it might even be part of my nostalgic obsession that Billy and Mandy, the TV show, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, started many years ago. As many of you know, I did a video on this years ago. There was a DVD Cartoon Network put out, and it had the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy episode called Billy and Mandy's Jacked Up Halloween, which involves a fellow who has a pumpkin for a head, and he tries to take over Ennsville on Halloween night. I love that. I've been obsessed with pumpkin-headed things ever since. Of course, I saw the movie The Legend of Sleepy Hollow from Disney back in the day. I loved that. It scared the hell out of me. Then I saw The Hollow with Nick Carter, which scared me when I was a kid, but it was awful in general. The idea, at the time in the 90s, too, and in the early 2000s when I was a kid, too, all of the Halloween decorations that came out would constantly have things with pumpkins for heads. And I loved that. I love that aesthetic, and you don't see people make that anymore. You don't even see, like, Halloween masks like that, really, anymore. Unless it's coming from Walmart and looks like it's crap from China. It usually looks like junk. They don't really make anything Halloween prop-wise, like decorations for your yard, that are really cool looking. This is such a cool cover that really kind of feeds into my love for the pumpkin-headed, villainous type of thing from when I was a kid. It's something that isn't done anymore, and it makes me sad, because I would love to see that more often. Anyway, that's my number 2 pick. And as you know, my number 1 pick is a book that has not been in the list yet. It's a book that I recently reviewed, as I said a moment ago, I'm not a fan of this book at all, really. I think personally it's very overrated, in my personal opinion. But the cover, I cannot deny you the fact that the cover is possibly in the top 10 best Tim Jacobus covers ever made. And one day I might rank them all. I don't think he's ever going to come back and do more scholastic Goosebumps stuff. But I will tell you, I think this is possibly in his top 10 of best covers he ever did. Up there with like The Haunted Mask 1 and 2, mainly 2. That's my favorite out of the 2. Night of the Living Dummies original book, which scared me a lot. If I had this book back then, I would have been looking at it a lot too. Alongside Night of the Living Dummy 2 and 3 and 1. That I sat down, even if I wasn't reading the books, I would just look at them all the time, the covers. I think all of us can say that. We did that. We still do that. I still do that. I don't know about you, but I still do that at the age of 28, whatever I am now. God, I'm getting old. I can't even remember how old I am. Number 1 on my list is a book that I waited, since last week to get. And that is Attack of the Graveyard Ghouls. Alright, I talked about how, in my review for the actual book, the Brandon Dorman reissue cover is more realistic about what the book is about. It had like ghostly figures and stuff. That's more about what this book is about. More about ghouls in the sense of like a spiritual type of thing. I don't really consider that a ghoul by the classic 1950s, 1960s movie context. Usually it's like a zombie type of thing, but not really. They just kind of kill you. They don't really eat you or anything like that. They might steal your body, grave robbers, that kind of thing. That's what I consider to be a ghoul. This book does not consider it that. But Stein is older than me. I don't really care whatever he does with the word ghouls. But Graveyard Ghouls is not the greatest book ever. Like I said, I have a lot of nitpicks, but the actual cover depicts zombies. And that is not what this book is about at all. And I was so excited to read this book because of how great the cover was. And it's not the same. But just so you know, with the color scheme of the sky being orange and black, it looks very Halloween-like. Let's start up here. You have this fella whose literal eyeball in a kid's book is popped out of his head, hanging, dude. Just barely. You have this awesome tree with detailing. You have this face with his jacked up teeth, like he's eating rocks or something. You have this guy over here, just chilling, waiting. Then you have this messed up hand with bones sticking out and blood on it and everything. Oh my god, it's amazing. Even down to the grass down here that he's gripping onto to climb out of the grave. It's such a great cover, dude. How could you look at this and not make this the number 1 pick? When you look at these original covers, how could you ever look at this and not make this the best one out of the Series 2000 books? I don't know. I was conflicted with Part 2, but compared to everything else, the amount of detail put into this garbage book on its amazing cover is baffling to me. This is one of the best Tim Jacobus paintings ever made, and I will defend it until the day I die when it comes to that awesome, awesome cover. And even when it comes to Brandon Dorman's covers, when it comes to his reissues, specifically, anything outside of Series 2000 in Series 2000, even his reissue cover I think is really cool, with the green-looking spiritual fart ghosts, or whatever they are. They look great. I love it. I think it's a really cool cover with that green color scheme. It's not as good as this, but it's good looking. I like it for what it is, and kind of as a reissue, really being true to what the story is about. I like that too. That's kind of a false advertisement for the original cover, but thank God it was, because it looks great, and I could see a kid like myself at the time getting pumped to read that because of that awesome cover. But that's just me. Anyway, as you can tell, that is the end of my ranking list. Probably kind of long, probably kind of filled with rambles, as per usual though. If you guys are still watching, you know I do this. You know I do this, so why do I always apologize? I guess because I feel bad for wasting your time. Anyway, that is all 25 Series 2000 books ranked from worst to best on the covers alone. I did a video, like I said, just in case you didn't hear me. I did a video ranking the actual story content from worst to best as well, in case you want to check that out. It came out last week, in case you want to see it. Probably, if you're watching this in the future, you don't really know, just go look it up. I have a ranking playlist on YouTube, on my channel, so you can check out that as well. But anyway, I want to tell you, thank you so much for being here to watch all of these videos for Series 2000. A lot of these I started 4 years ago. I started reading them 5 years ago, but I started reviewing them actively over 4 years ago, or right at 4 years ago, as of the 28th of this month. And I want to thank you for being here for so long and being so patient with me to take 4 years to read 25 of these. I'm sorry, I had so many things I wanted to get out of the way first, But here I am, and I hope this made it up to you. I hope you had a great time reading or watching this video with me. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was something surprising. I hope that a lot of my picks kind of surprised you. And I hope you guessed my top 10. I want to know what some of those comments say about it. Anyway, happy Valentine's Day. I hope you have a great time with your significant other. I hope you have a wonderful time. Do something special with them. Take them to a nice restaurant. Show them you appreciate them and that you love them, you know? Or if you're dating, show them you like them, I guess. Get them like a little Valentine's Day card with like Baby Yoda on it or something. I don't know. Do something classic like that. They'll love it. Any of them. Anyway, that is my ranking. Thank you all for watching. God bless you all. And have a wonderful day, a wonderful Valentine's Day. Even though I wasn't going to record today, here I am. So, God bless you guys. Goodbye.